What's up, everybody? My name is Itai, and I'm the chess geek from chessgeek.org. Today I have the Owen's Defense e4 and b6. I'll be talking about the ideas that you have as black and how you can play this right so overall you can challenge e4 and land yourself at a nice position to continue the game. I kindly ask that you stop the video right here, go down, and if you're not subscribed, then you subscribe. It's free, it really helps me out, it's free, and oh yeah, it's free. So, thank you, and enjoy the video. So, d4, b6, getting ready to fianchetto the bishop, and whenever your opponent doesn't take control of the center, you're going to want to take full control. So, d4 is what you expect. Now, like I said, bishop b7, and now really the fight for the light squares occurs, okay? So you're already threatening to capture this pawn. White has to respond. There's realistically two options that I'm going to be covering today, which is bishop over here to d3, obviously covering the e4 square, and obviously also knight to c3. Okay, so let's start with the knight moving here. And with this move, well, now you can always pin a knight, okay? So you're going to want to unleash this dark square bishop to be able to pin the knight, and then you'll be able to target the pawn again, okay? So your game plan is going to be taking away this knight from the attack, okay? So you're going to start with e6. Let's say they play the move f3. Well, now you can play bishop here, and if they make the mistake of playing, for example, d2, well, now obviously you can win a pawn, because again, your bishop is so important here, just ruling over all of these light squares in the center and in general on this diagonal. Okay, so that's probably not going to happen though, because your opponent will realize that there's only one piece defending this pawn. But that's your idea. Your idea is going to be playing e6, pinning the knight, but also with e6, you're going to be preparing d5. Which is a move that you're eventually going to want to play, because for right now, white still has the control of the center, and you're going to want to grab the center as early as you can. So you're going to eventually want to play d5 and fight for this center square. In some variations, that will leave your bishop a little sad, but you'll see how you can get around with it, and then you'll eventually this pawn chain will be able to move forward, and you'll see how I do that later on when I continue with this line, okay? So most likely, rather than the bishop over here, you're going to find bishop maybe d3 now, in which case you can basically just continue development. So right, knight to f6, bishop over here to g5, h6 you can play, try to kick the bishop away, and now the bishop might take the knight, and you can take back with the queen and keep your pressure in the center. Okay, if you took back with the pawn, that would be a little bit of a mistake. So you want to take back with the queen and keep pressure, in the center. White could castle. You can also now take the knight, because now white has more pressure in the center as they have a knight and you don't. So you want to kind of even the playing field, and only then you can castle. And you'll notice that right now it seems like white's pawns in the center are a little bit annoying. So eventually, once the time is right, maybe you'll see this move, but most likely you're going to see a4. This is also the best move according to the ancient. But the idea is that eventually, when the time is right, when you have enough pieces in the center, you're going to want to make that breakthrough with d5, okay? And this seems a little silly. I mean, the idea is obviously to trade and then try to take control a little bit more of the center, right? But it seems like white has this one easy solution to all their problems, which is e5. Keep the control, keep most of the control in the center, kick away the queen, make this bishop sad. So it seems like e6 will be, or e5 will be, it will be very hard for black to get anything back, but that's not the case. Yes, you have to move the queen, but you have a little bit of you have ways to get around this. So, for example, f6. Okay, they might play this move, stopping you from playing f6, because that will just leave you at the same position. But now you have c5, so you're gonna be able to take away at these pawns. Obviously, if they trade, you don't take with the pawn. You can actually win another pawn. So that's a little nice trick, right? But basically, you're gonna want to use your other pawns on the other files and take away the center pawns, so eventually your bishop will have a free diagonal, right? So once again, if they trade, well, now once this moves, maybe they play this move, try to lift the rook up, well, now you already have kind of a plan, right? If this pawn ever moves, now you can play this move and pin the rook. So your bishop will find, will find daylight, but it might take some time because eventually you probably will have a position where your pawns are blocking your bishop for some time, okay? And you'll notice that this kind of reminds yourself of a French position, right? A French defense is obviously when you start the game with, e4 and now e6, and you'll notice that this is a very similar position. I don't know why I just unmarked, but you'll notice, in fact, let me just show you. You'll notice this is a very similar position. All the developments happened, but you have this weird pawn chain, and you obviously have a fianchettoed bishop in the Owens defense, but eventually you're going to be able to get around with this with some of these extra pawns on the side. So although the French defense extended variation seems a little bit horrible for black, it usually doesn't end up being that bad, okay? And overall, that's kind of your main idea if they move out the knight. You're going to want to disable the knight with your bishop and, be ready with e6 to play d5, okay? So that's kind of your main idea if they move out their knight. But one key piece in the Owens defense is c5. It's a move that you end up playing a lot. We saw it played last example where the knight was moved out, so you could enable the bishop, right? Because you took away this pawn so you could push it forward. And you can also see it in a different position, in a lot of different positions. Like, for example, let's say the bishop was moved out. You can enable, again, this piece. Let's say they move out their knight, you can pin it. But basically, let's say they move out the other knight. Eventually, the c5 moves becomes very powerful. So you can have a very quick trade in the center. They can kick your bishop back. But overall, you'll notice that once you develop everything, once you castle, you're going to be able to play a very nice c5 move usually, because a lot of times they're going to have this pawn here on d4 that stays on d4. It doesn't really get pushed forward because they usually don't have enough material to push it forward, because you just have a lot of pieces on that, okay? So eventually c5 becomes very powerful. They can't really push it forward. They're going to have to maybe trade, take away their only piece in the center. But in general, c5 is a move that you're going to want to use to your advantage, and that's kind of one of the big ideas that you have in the Owens defense, along with obviously also e6. So you can see how this can also kind of become a Sicilian defense, right? c5, you don't tend to fianchetto this bishop as much as this one, but still this does remind you more of a Sicilian defense, and overall the Owens defense, all it means is that you fianchetto the bishop. It doesn't mean that you have to play passive the rest of the game, as you've seen in these examples. Thank you guys so much for watching the video today. I do have a question. Against e4, what's the strangest response you've done? Have you ever played the Owens defense? Have you played a5? I don't know. What's the strangest move that you've played against e4? Leave it down below. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my brand new website at www.chessgeek.org. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.